there's a new country in town claiming credit for truce between India and Pakistan, or the de-escalation of tensions, you may call it. This country is China. Irony just laughed at itself. The Chinese Foreign Ministry credits itself for playing a crucial role in easing Indo-Pak tensions. Beijing says it intervened to diffuse tensions between the two neighbors. The statement said, and I quote, "As a friendly neighbor of both India and Pakistan, China proactively promoted peace talks and played a constructive role in easing the tense situation. Some other countries also made positive efforts in this regard." Of course, China may say things to project itself positively, but the fact of the matter is this: where China could have helped, it failed, and failed spectacularly. China could have listed terrorist Masood Azhar at the United Nations. It threw that opportunity away. Protecting its commercial interests became a priority for Beijing, a priority over fighting terrorism. But China is not the first country to claim credit for de-escalation of these tensions. Donald Trump, remember, famously said that tensions were coming to an end even before the release of Indian Wing Commander Abhinandan Varthaman.
We have, I think, reasonably attractive news from Pakistan and India. They've been going at it, and we've been involved in trying to have them stop. And we have some reasonably decent news. I think hopefully that's going to be coming to an end. It's been going on for a long time, decades and decades. There's a lot of dislike, unfortunately. So we've been in the middle trying to help them both out, see if we can get some organization and some peace, and I think probably that's going to be happening.
Even the UAE has taken credit for peace between India and Pakistan, or this version of peace. The UAE's envoy to India said, and I quote, "We have played an important role in reducing tension between India and Pakistan. On the day of the huge escalation, our Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Mohammed bin Zayed, had a telephonic conversation with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan. Our role was to sort out differences between the two sides in a peaceful manner through negotiations." So there are many countries, as you can see, claiming to be peacemakers. All this is bizarre because India is still looking to act against terrorism in Pakistan. India has tried to bring consensus in the United Nations, only for China, the so-called peace facilitator, to block it. The question is, why do all these countries take credit? Does China want global recognition or perhaps a peace prize? What does it want? Since it does not act against terror havens in Pakistan, isn't China partly to blame for terrorism coming out of that country? Besides, India does not interfere in the internal issues of China or the US, or for that matter the UAE, whereas these countries wait for an opportunity to play a role in India's internal issues. At least China and the US do. If China wants to protect itself or project itself as an enabler of peace, it can start acting against terror in Pakistan, as well as the oppression in Xinjiang of the Uyghur Muslims. As for Donald Trump, the president has claimed credit for almost everything under the sun, from markets rallying to jobs to even making progress on North Korea. You may ask where the progress is, but with Donald Trump, things are not so straightforward. These are claimants of the Peace Award. So be it. But it's important to note that India has not forgotten what triggered the tension.
मैं 40 उन बहादुर जवानों को जिन्होंने अपनी सर्वोच्च बलिदान दिया और पुलवामा के अंदर में एक बहुत ही दारुण उस घटना के अंदर में इतनी सारी जानों की आहुति इस बल को और राष्ट्र को देनी पड़ी। राष्ट्र इसको न भूला है न भूलेगा।
Important message there. India has not diluted its stand against terrorism. The Balakot airstrike was just an illustration. If Pakistan fails to act against terrorism, then the onus is on India to act. It's also important to note that peace negotiations, peace mediations are diplomatic. They are not opportunities to claim credit. Cyclone, winds and floods ravaging southeastern Africa have affected more than 2.6 million people and could rank as one of the worst weather-related disasters recorded in the southern hemisphere. Cyclone Idai has caused massive damage to life and property in Mozambique, Zimbabwe and Malawi. Here's a report.
On Thursday, Cyclone Idai tore into Mozambique as a high-end Category 2 storm with 110 miles per hour winds, causing widespread devastation and killing hundreds of people before moving inland into Zimbabwe and Malawi. With 1.7 million people in the path of the cyclone in Mozambique and 92,000 affected in Malawi, the cyclone is the worst ever to have hit the southeastern African nations in 20 years. Vast areas of land have been flooded, roads destroyed and communications disrupted.
Other years there have been storms, but not like this year. This year was the first year it has been the worst ever, washing away homes, away clothes, wet the food and leaving us with nothing.
The death toll in Zimbabwe reached 98, with over 200 people feared missing.
Today it's almost about 26 people were buried today. We have got army, the national army. They helped us a lot.
In Malawi, 56 people are dead and over 600 are missing. In Mozambique, the official death toll stands at 84. But President Filipe Nyusi fears 1,000 people may be dead in the wake of the deadly cyclone. Emergency officials caution that while the expected death toll will rise significantly, they have no way of knowing if it would reach the president's estimate. The worst affected area in Mozambique is the port city of Beira. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies say that some 90% of the city and its surrounding areas have been damaged or destroyed.
Here in this accommodation, we don't have food. It's a problem. We don't have anything. Last night, we didn't eat at all.
A large dam burst on Sunday and cut off the last road to the port city. Rescue workers say that the death toll is even more difficult to judge as several communities remain inaccessible. Though the cyclone hit Mozambique on Thursday, the extent of damage has taken days to come into focus due to the country's poor infrastructure. The large extent of damage caused by the cyclone is also believed to be due to poverty and lack of infrastructure. This is not the first time the country has faced devastating natural calamity. Back in the year 2000, Cyclone Idai hit Mozambique. It killed 350 people and left over 6,000 homeless. Bureau Report, Wion, World is One.
With the ISIS close to being completely defeated, Iran, along with Syria and Iraq, are starting to organize themselves together. The military chiefs of these three countries met and told the world that the Syrian borders will soon reopen. Iran flaunted its ties with Damascus as the two countries demanded that America withdraw its troops from Syria and threatened to defeat Washington's Kurdish allies. That's not all. Iran is also getting ready to take the US to court with a lawsuit. Here's a detailed report.
Iran wants to sue the US. Yes, you heard that right. Iran is actually preparing a lawsuit against US individuals involved with economic sanctions imposed by Washington on the Islamic Republic. President Hassan Rouhani has said that the Legal Affairs Office as well as the Justice and Foreign Ministers have been tasked with drawing up a lawsuit. It will be against all those within America involved with designing and executing the sanctions. The case would be lodged, in their own words, in a competent court inside Iran. In the meanwhile, Iran and Syria have demanded that the US withdraw its troops from Syria. The Damascus government is even threatening to defeat Washington's allies by force if they do not comply. Speaking after a meeting in Damascus, Iranian and Syrian military chiefs announced that they would soon reopen the Syrian border. Standing alongside his Iraqi and Syrian counterparts, Iran's armed force chief said that the three countries are united against terrorism and are coordinating at the highest levels.
The meeting discussed the measures to be taken in order to regain territories that are out of government control, including areas where American forces are available.
Last month, the United States of America had said that it would keep some forces in Syria, reversing course from an earlier decision to pull them all out once the Islamic State is militarily defeated. Washington has deployed Air Force and some ground troops to support SDF, or the Syrian Democratic Forces, that is close to seizing the last enclave of the Islamic State in eastern Syria.
The only card remaining in the hands of the Americans and their allies is the SDF, and it will be dealt with through the two methods used by the Syrian state: national reconciliation or the liberation of the areas that they control through force.
As the Islamic State group defended its last scrap of territory against Kurdish-led forces in eastern Syria, a spokesman of the terror group has urged followers to attack them elsewhere in the war-torn country. An ISIS spokesman in an audio recording called for action from the group's supporters in areas held by the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF.
There is no doubt that US military capabilities are big and advanced, but the Syrian military's sources of strength include a readiness for sacrifice, and it is capable of taking action and having an effect.
And these remarks point to the risks of a new escalation in Syria after the defeat of the Islamic State, with President Bashar al-Assad looking to retake the two major territories outside his control, and the US working to curb Iranian influence. Bureau Report, Wion, World is One.
The terrorist attacks in the city of Christchurch were the worst ever case of mass shooting in New Zealand since the Second World War. The world has come together in solidarity with the victims. From traditional Maori songs and dance to holding vigils and marches, people of different faiths have been paying their tributes to the victims.
We're all shattered. We're still stunned by what has happened. We cannot believe it. I think the last country that we thought that terrorism will take place is this beautiful country, which is New Zealand. But that has happened.
It is the worst terror attack New Zealand has witnessed since the Second World War. Thousands of people headed to sites near the mosques in Christchurch to pay their respects to the victims. Raw emotions were on display as many tried to make sense of the horrific incident.
This is not New Zealand. This is not what happens here. We care and we love these people. So, yeah, that's why I've just brought a little tribute to show them that we do care.
While some laid flowers at the makeshift shrines, many musicians performed their own tributes to the 50 people who were killed in the shootings. Amidst the hundreds of flowers, candles, balloons and notes of grief, a small group of people sang an impromptu Maori lament as they mourned for the victims. Various groups of people across the country, including students of many schools, also performed the traditional Maori haka dance. Haka is a powerful dance form which is used to welcome guests, acknowledge great achievements, or performed at funerals to give respect to the dead. People across the globe also showed their solidarity with the victims and the Muslim community. In London, a march labelled "Stand Up to Racism" ran between Hyde Park and Whitehall with protesters chanting, "Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees are welcome here." In Australia, surfers competing in a professional event in Sydney held an emotional tribute for the victims. Dozens of surfers took part in the paddle out, laying floral wreaths in waters off Manly Beach.
Sydney surf community is assembled here in Manly for the Sydney Surf Pro, and we felt it was only appropriate, given we've got surfers from all over the world, including 9 from New Zealand, that we should pay our respects and offer our deep condolences to the people of New Zealand in the wake of the tragedy of a couple of days ago.
A few of us Kiwis are here competing in the contest, and we're saddened and really gutted about what happened, so we all got together and planned this little paddle out for for the families and all the loved ones and everyone in New Zealand back at home.
A handful of soccer teams and players took to the pitch and also paid their tributes to the victims. Wellington Phoenix and Western Sydney Wanderers joined together in the centre circle to honour these victims. New Zealander Costa Barbarouses made a heartfelt tribute on the pitch by dropping to his knees and touching his head to the ground in an apparent gesture to Muslim prayer after scoring his first goal. The overwhelming response from people across the globe shows the world is united in grief with the victims and their families. Bureau Report, Wion, World is One.